Hi, friend, and welcome to Tidy the Clutter podcast. I'm Mariah, and I'm so glad you're here. This is the place where we talk about real life ways to simplify your home and digital spaces. Let's face it, life gets busy real quick. Between work, kids, emails, and everything else on your plate, it's easy to feel like things are slipping through the cracks. The good news, it doesn't have to stay that way. In each episode, I'll be sharing practical tips, small wins, and simple strategies to help you clear the clutter both in your physical and digital spaces. You can feel more in control and have more time for what truly matters most to you. Whether it's setting up routines that stick, taming your inbox, or tackling toy chaos, my goal is to make getting organized doable, even on your busiest days. So, grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's get started. Do you feel like you're fighting a losing battle with the toy clutter? Like maybe you've tried every storage solution possible under the sun, from those giant plastic bins to those baskets that typically end up holding everything except for toys. Or even perhaps you've noticed what works perfectly for one child and it's a complete disaster for the other. Well, today's episode is going to change how you think about toy organization. I'm pulling back the curtain on our family's journey from toy chaos to calm, including the massive fails, the surprising wins, and the ultimate solution that finally worked for both my organized firstborn and my wonderfully chaotic second child. Stick around because if you are tired of stepping on toys or feeling overwhelmed by cleanup time, this episode, I'm hoping, will be your game changer too. You know what's just really fascinating about parenting? Just when you think you've got it all figured out, life throws you a curveball. That's exactly what happened in our home with toy organization. With my first daughter, everything seemed so manageable. Sure, she'd grumble a bit about cleanup time, but she'd get it done. Like, no problem. She would do it. I thought I had this whole toy organization thing mastered. And can I just be completely naive for a moment? Boy, did I think it was super easy and very simple with my first. Then came my second, my beautiful whirlwind. And all of a sudden, everything I thought I knew about organizing toys went literally straight out the window. It was like trying to organize a tornado. What worked great for my first might as well have been written in a foreign language for my second because it did not work. Like many of you probably have, I feel like I've tried it all. I tried those big plastic buckets that seem like they're going to solve everything. And they just became this bottomless pit of mixed up toys, unremembered random treats, and random paper. Like, how did that even get in there? When did we have hot pink paper? I have no idea. But we tried those soft circle bins. And as cute as they were completely impractical for our needs. The girls made more use of playing with those bins than the toys actually were in them. And the random totes, let's just say they live up to their name and they held a lot of random stuff. But here's where things really clicked for us. After all those failed attempts, we landed on something so brilliantly simple, the IKEA Kallax 8-shelf units, right? With those large cubby inserts. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, geez, another storage unit. Here we go. Another storage solution. Okay. But hear me out, okay? Because this is my personal feelings, thoughts, things going through my brain. But because it wasn't just about the furniture with the 8-shelf unit from IKEA, it was about how we used it. So we created what I'm just going to call the toy grouping zones. Think about it like this. All those Fisher-Price little people toys go into one bin, and everything that's similar to those, little dinosaurs and little animals, they would go in that bin. Our stacking blocks and magnet tiles in another bin. My oldest loves Legos, so her entire Lego collection has its own special bin in her room because we don't need the youngest into the Legos quite yet. But she's got her own spot for Legos in one of those bins. The Barbies, because we just have so many Barbie toys and Barbie accessories, they end up taking 2 bins themselves, which is fine. But everything has a place. And more importantly, everything has a logical home that both my kids can understand and use. Now, let me just share something that's been really helpful in our house. Remember back in episode 3 when we talked about the 10-minute tidy? Well, I've developed this unwritten rule that attempts to limit activities out at one time. Here's how it works. The girls might start playing with the kitchen set, and they've got the play food out, they've got the cooking utensils, the dishes, etc., right? Everything else. Then they decide, oh, we should play with the magnetic blocks. Okay, let's get them out. So they get those out. I guess they're not blocks. They're technically tiles, but the magnetic tiles, okay? They get those out too. The activities and games are energizing. They're having so much fun. It's great. But when they try to start a third activity, that's when I kind of step in and I say, all right, before we get out anything else, let's clean up what you've already pulled out. If we don't clean it up now, we won't be able to get more toys out. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes the mess grows faster than I can catch it. So when that happens, I don't have them tackle it alone. I jump in and help too. The goal really isn't to overwhelm them, but it's to teach them manageable cleanup habits. We don't need to pull out all the toys and then at the end of the night be stressing about putting all the toys back. I like kind of these bite-sized increments. Now, this simple boundary has really been a game changer for us. Why, you may ask? Because it prevents that end of day overwhelming cleanup that we all dread. I feel like we're all in that same bucket. I hate the end of day cleanup, and so do my girls. But we have to do it because I would hate to have a messy house more than just the cleanup. And as we discussed in episode 10, end of day cleanup doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming task. When things do get a bit too chaotic, because let's be real, it happens and it's going to happen to everybody, we like to implement the trusty 10-minute tidy up. Most of the time, the girls can handle the cleanup themselves. But when it's more than they can manage, we tackle it together. The key is preventing the mess from becoming unmanageable in the first place. It's really about creating systems that work with your children's natural tendencies and not against them. My organized child, she really finds it easier to put things in their proper place. So there are spots where the large items like the farmhouse or the Barbie van, those big items that they won't fit in a bin or a cubby, they still need a designated spot because their designated spot is not going to be in the middle of the living room where we can all trip over it. Those items have designated spots. And my oldest doesn't mind putting those in their designated spot. Then my whirlwind child, she can simply toss similar toys into their designated bins. And once the bins are put away, you don't see inside the bin. So to me, that's a win because it is nice and tidy. What I've actually learned through this journey is that successful toy organization really isn't about forcing a perfect system. It's about finding what works for your unique family dynamics. And because maybe you have 2 organized kids, or you have 2 tornado kids, Or like me, you have one of each. Your family dynamic is going to vary so differently, especially if you have more than just 2 kids. That's the beauty that I find in this simple system, I guess, because it's so flexible. Here's what makes it work. The first thing is simple categorization that makes sense to kids, not to us, to kids. You can use labels if you like, and you can use these with words or with pictures, or you can be plain like me and just leave them blank for the ease of it. I love the idea of labels and pictures. I just don't have time. I don't have time to make sense of labels and pictures and put them on my bins. But they are super nice and aesthetically pleasing if you want to do that too. My second thing is easy access. So this means both cleanup and play become a natural part of the day. So it's just natural to get into the bucket and take out the Fisher-Price toys. Or it's natural to put all the blocks back in the block bucket. The third one is flexibility, which really means as toys and interests change, you can easily adapt the system. So we have more kind of toddler toys in my youngest's room. And when she's out of those toys, we can put them in storage or whatnot. We can adapt the system as the kids are growing, whether your child is a meticulous organizer or prefers the toss and go method. It will work with both. Before we wrap up, if you are loving these organizational tips and want to start tackling other areas of clutter in your life, I've got something special for you. Head over to today's show notes at tidytheclutter.com/016 and grab my 15-minute digital declutter checklist. Honestly, it's the perfect way to kickstart your organization journey beyond just the physical stuff. Plus, you'll get weekly tips and strategies delivered straight to your inbox to really help you maintain that clutter-free life we're all striving for here. You know, watching my 2 very different daughters so far has taught me some valuable lessons. And there's just one size does not fit all approach for toy organization or, golly sakes, really anything in parenting. What works for one child might not work for another, and that's totally okay. The goal isn't perfection. It's finding a system that works for your family. Not for the neighbor's family, not for your aunt's family, for your family. So whether you have a naturally organized child or a very happy tornado or both, the key is creating simple, flexible systems that everyone can follow. And speaking of keeping things organized, next week's episode is especially for all of my work from home moms out there. If you've ever had to apologize during a Zoom call because a little head has popped up and handed you a broken toy or a banana peel or just found yourself working around blocks and stuffed animals and broken toys and what have you, you won't want to miss it. We'll be diving into creating and maintaining an organized home office space that stays productive even with kids around. So, join me next week because I'll be sharing the real-world solutions and daily practices that really help me maintain a productive workspace, even when my life gets a little chaotic. I will see you next week, my friend. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Tidy the Clutter podcast. I hope you're leaving today with at least one small step that you're excited to take. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about finding what works for you and building on it little by little. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love it if you'd give the podcast a follow and leave a quick review. It really helps others find the show and join us on this journey toward less stress and more ease. And if you're looking for more tips, resources, or just a bit of extra motivation, head over to tidytheclutter.com. And everything you need to stay organized and feel more in control is waiting for you there.
Until next time, keep things simple, stay focused, and enjoy those small wins along the way. Take care and talk soon.